Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Wednesday, I believe. Yes, December the 2nd. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And pretty good day today. We had a big sell-off, big downtrend here, and this was some. If you caught one of these, this was a pretty good, nice run here. Um, it looked like the day was going to be nothing at first. It was really low volume, really tight trading range kind of day and just not much happening. And then, but we did have some news coming out around, like, I think 11:30, 11:45, somewhere in there. So taking a couple of these trades might have been so-so because of that news. Although it wasn't a regular Fed notice, um, it's still a high volatility news kind of item because it's the Fed speaking, and anytime they speak, anything can happen. But this was an obvious range, and then when we drop lower, you want to look for the measured move, and you measure that, and you see you get a perfect measured move down to where you found support. Maybe went a tick or so lower, and but we had this trend line working here, and this confirmed it right here. It really confirmed right here, but you want if you what you need to wait on the second entry, which came here, and this thing drops on through down to the low, and um, so until we prove this trend line is no good, you can't be getting along right in this area here. And if it turns down, you got a chance for a short. Um, therefore the short's there. Again, this was right at that news item in here. So this trade, this was almost an hour later. So this one was probably okay, but this was probably a little questionable right here. Um, maybe 30, 45 minutes to an hour into it. So you might have just skipped this trade, but I liked it because it's right off that trend line and you get a nice setup there. It's a second entry short. Lots of reasons to like it, but anyway, you can see the trading range and then the bigger two-tiered channel, and then of course this is a spike in a channel, and then we got a break here in a new low, and then we corrected and then went lower, and then you get a nice trend channel working here, a break. Still moved quite a bit to a new, further down, but we were looking for that measured move on this two-tiered channel here. And you see we got that. And you can see it's acting, we didn't get a whole lot of touches of this, but it's acting as support and resistance down through there. So anyway, turned out what looked like was going to be a slow, nothing much happening today turns into a great day. So you just never know. But let's back out so we can see it a little better, and we'll talk about the trades and we'll wrap it up for today. This was a very clear and obvious range, and actually what I did, I started up here and I just kind of moved it down. And you can see, move it down, and you can see there's some support and resistance on each side of that line. You actually get the most touches right there. We pushed through it a couple of times here. Um, but that's where it looks the best once we get a little more price action here. But early on, you want to start up here. But anyway, the first trade I saw was just a little bit after 7 o'clock. There's a second entry short here. This is not a perfect signal bar, but that's the first break of this trend line. This is one leg right here, and this is a second leg. But regardless, it pulls back and it tests this kind of support resistance area and it acts as resistance. This one was close to being green because it's not a very good signal bar on my chart, but I still like it. It's an obvious trading range. It's the first break of this trend line. It's a pullback retest of this support area right here, and it turns into resistance. There's several different reasons to like it, but it's not a great signal bar. But this is a reversal type pattern. If we push on through here, this thing could go much lower. So, and there's plenty of room to get out here before you get back down to here. So, I liked it. It's tempting to go long right here, but there's just so much overlap across here, and it's not a whole lot of room back to the EMA. There's a double test here. So if you really want to be aggressive, you could take that long. So I will give that I'll go back and mark that one green. And there's another thing about that one too. It went lower first and then turned up. So it probably trapped a few people down here. It went one tick lower than that previous one, and then it went one tick below that bar, or maybe two ticks, and then turned up. So it went lower first. So you can just go long right there if you want to take that, if you want to be aggressive. And notice it is a break and two legs down, and it makes a new low there, and it reverses. So nice setup there. Um, as far as, I mean, it played out perfectly as far as the break and the two legs down. It's a little, and it is a failed break lower. It is a double, one, two, three, four, five. Um, Times we tested that low and it held and it bounced. It's not a great signal bar and it's a little bit close to the EMA, so that's the only reason I didn't like it. But this is a range day, and generally that's what's going to happen. You're going to go back and forth. Somebody actually asked me about a short right here. They were trying to get short right. I think it was right here. But that's before you knew this was a new high here, and you were looking for prices to come back up here and test this high. So once you got the break of this trend line, you're looking for a retest, and notice that's what you get, a new high, and then it works down. You get a break, and then it can't get a new low because it finds support across this range, and it bounces. And there's actually a, oops. Actually, I want a line here. You can see that, the close outside, two pushes, two legs up, and then it reverses. So it did exactly what you would think. But anyway, um, I like this for a long. It's a second entry long. Um, it looked like it was going to be a nice bullish bar, and then it turned and went lower. And I just had to stop there, hoping it was going to push on through. It didn't, but as soon as that bar closed, it pushed on up, and it makes a new high, and then it reverses. Now you're working down. It's tempting to enter short right here because that's a little pullback to that trend line, but it's so close to all those matching lows, a little double bottom across there. I think it's too risky. It would have worked and you would have gone right down here, but you don't know that. And then of course it bounces and it pulls back, and it's a little bit tempting to go long right there. And I'm really okay. It went lower first and then turned up, very similar to this. So I'm willing to give that one a green one. Again, I'm not going to make it red, uh, but I will make it green. It's a little more aggressive. And then of course it turns down here. So then I draw that trend line, and you're working lower, and you bounce. And this time you get a nice signal bar, bullish bar. I like going long right there. Quick, easy scalp, and then you get the. Of course, it turns down right at that trend line, but that's the first break. And then it pushes up once, and then it pushes up again. And hopefully you understand why you can't be going long in there. And when it gets that second push higher and turns down, I like going short there. It confirms that trend line. It's a second entry short. There's resistance all across here. And that thing, you don't know it's going to take off like this, but that's why a lot of times we hold runners. And a lot of times on days when you're in ranges like this, I won't hold a runner. But this is a good example why, it probably pays off to hold them, run them, hold one all the time. But generally you won't get a lot of runners on when you're in a tight range like that. So, and I wanted to share something, email somebody sent me. Let me just pull it up real quick. This is a chart another trader sent me. She sent me this, and you can see she was reading it very, very well. She saw the range very clearly. She was playing it very similar to me. She moved her line down. You notice she's got one up here, but she's moved it down and tightened it up when you got more support or resistance across there. And this is what her email said. It said, "Hi, Mack, how are you? Since I don't get with you much anymore, I thought I'd send you an image of my work this morning. Proves you can trade a 4-point range if you know how to read prices. Just like you might want to see. Have a good day." And she gave her name. And so this is a trader that's been, I know, following the price action stuff that we teach for probably a couple of years. I'm not sure how long she specifically, but I know it's been over a year, probably closer to 2 years, if not more than that. And she's getting it now. And she sends me her chart very rarely anymore, and I'm sure that's because she's having success. And she read this perfectly, and I just read your email, so I thought I'd share that just to show you that uh, you can get this with time. You just got to keep working at it. And another trader sent me his chart, and he was struggling, and the reason was I don't think he recognized the range. He was, like I said, he was trying to get short, right? I believe it was right here he went short, and I can see that if you don't understand what's going on, at that point you didn't have a whole lot of evidence that this was going to be resistance yet. So you're still looking for prices to come up here. That's the first break of this. So you're looking for prices to turn and go higher for a retest. Plus, this looks like a range and your resistance is up here. So you're expecting prices to go up here. It doesn't end up going that far, but it still gets a new high and then it comes down here. So if you understand what prices are doing, you don't get fooled so much here. Plus, notice he went short here. There's a down channel, but you get a break, and with that bar, you get a new low. I don't remember what his chart looked like. It may not have looked quite like that, but still, you get the break and a new low before you can go long. So you don't want to be necessarily going short right into this support, and you don't want to be going short after you've already had a break and a new low, because it may do just what it did and bounce there. So you need a really good setup. And that's just a first entry. There's no second entry or anything. So I hope that makes sense to that trader if he's watching, and anybody else that might have got fooled there. So back to the trades. We talked about this short, and this was a double. This is a breakout pullback short. But notice what happened here. It's really a little trading range, a little congestion area, and you get that failed break and a big bearish bar, and that's what you want to see. It is a little close to these lows, but the fact that it's tried to go higher once, twice, and a third time, and you get a big bearish reversal bar, that's worth risking, especially when you've already had one leg down here. And probably what you might do is measure this leg, and then you come over here where it started going lower again, and that puts you all the way down here. Even if you measured it right here, well, if you measured it that way, you probably are less likely to go short there because you've already reached your measured move. But it still doesn't matter because you have the trap and you got a big bearish bar. It's pulled back to the EMA, but I would have been measuring this. Would have been your main measurement, like I've already shown you, and that's what would have kept me in the trade right there with the trap. This is a failed second. Notice the new high, pull back first entry, pull back second entry, and it's a little congestion area. It's a failed break higher, and we traded down into this, so we're probably going to be successful trading out. And if we do trade out, you want to measure that leg. And then you want to look for a measured move there too. And look at that. It's a perfect measured move. So that gets you back down here again with another measurement. And when you get multiple measurements to the same place, pay attention to it. And notice we made a new high there. This swing high is higher than that one. So you count this as a new high. Pull back first entry. Pull back second entry. It fails. It breaks higher, turns, it goes down. Just go short right there, or if you wanted to wait on this one to break lower and then pull back, or drop a limit order and see if it'll pull back and get you. And then you get a break here, but that's the first break of the little correction trend line, so I think it's too risky to go short there. It would have worked, but you don't know that ahead of time. So, and guess what? You get a break, a new low, and then it corrects again. And you actually have a trend line here. What's the deal? Must have grabbed the wrong line a minute ago. We don't need that. And you got that trend line, a break, a new high, and then you tested it again and it turns down. That's a second entry short. We're in a downtrend. It's off the trend channel. Now, this is the one that came right around the news, so you might have skipped this one, um, just in case. And it did push down, and it pulls back, and it tested again. And look at that big bearish bar, and that's a second entry short. Um, what I like on this one, because it's so close to those lows, is letting it break below and then drop a limit order. And look what happened. It breaks below, and then it backs up. And so you could have gotten filled at least a tick back into that bar, and it doesn't matter. It ends up not mattering, but you don't know that ahead of time, so you got to be careful. And it just takes off. And then look what happens. You're moving down, try to go higher once, turn down, you try to go higher again. This is a little bit congestive, but it's because it's such a small channel. But that's 2 legs back to the trend line. And look at that bearish bar. You really could go short there, but it's not a great setup. But you could definitely might want to go short there. And you may have gotten left out if you tried to go short, because it skipped and came down, but it did come back a little bit and try to fill that gap. There's a gap between those 2 bars. Notice that they don't overlap. And generally it'll pull back and fill that and give you a chance to get in, but it didn't. The market's too weak and it just takes off. So if you got in that one, that's great. But now you've moved a long way down. It's tempting to go short right here. I probably could give it a green circle, but I'm not going to make that one red, because you're going short at the low of the day, after we've already moved down a good bit and you haven't come back to the EMA for a while. And then if you measure this leg and your next leg down, you've already got a measured move. So it's a little testy going short there, and a little it'll test your nerves, and it's a little bit aggressive. It would have worked, but the market's pretty weak now. And then you pull back, but you never can get a second entry here until here. And what I liked about this one is we got a high and we tried to go higher twice, and so there's 2 legs down to a new low, and it fails. And this is really a move up, a pull back, a move up, and then turn down. So there's a little second entry hidden short in there. And at this point, you're looking for the measured move off of this. And really at first I had it here, so I was looking for an even bigger measurement. And it might be there, to be honest with you. Still get the same thing by moving it down there. So you still got a measured thing, but I actually had it off that first swing there instead of the lower one. But looking at it now, it's about the same thing either way. This might be just a little higher right there, because it does catch both ways. So it's close enough. You don't have to be perfect a lot of times. You got to be close, but you don't have to be perfect. So I like that one. It's getting close to the 2 o'clock hour, but if you caught that one, it's a pretty nice move down. And I don't think you want to be getting long, and I don't think you want to be getting short in here either. This close to 2 o'clock, we've moved so far. We've already got a break and a good low. We're bouncing off the lows of the 2-tiered channel here, and so it's time to go the other way, or at least back to the midline. So I think it's too risky, and this got us into 2 o'clock, and I just didn't mark anything else. So anyway, it turned out to be a pretty good day. This was a nice surprise here, the sell-off, and it moved pretty strongly to the downside. So if you caught 1 or 2 of these, and you probably caught a runner if you caught some of these first couple here, and you could have ridden this at least down till you get a break of that trend line, and that would have been right there. But you could have traded this and had a nice trading day and never even had to wait for all this, and been done by 9:30, 10 o'clock. That's what I like to do, to be honest with you. And I love these kind of days, these ranges here, because they're so predictable. And, if you don't have a lot of experience, it's hard to trust it. People ask me all the time, how do I know? And then they'll see a day like this, and then tomorrow it'll look like it's going to do that, and they'll just automatically buy without waiting on the setup, and it just keeps going. They're like, well, how do you know? Well, you don't know, but you learn to understand what's going on by getting a lot of experience and watching it every day. And then you begin to know when you should take, and if you wait for the setup, you may not take the first entry. You wait on a little second trap or something. But once you've touched it multiple times, like right here, you just about have to take that. And there's actually a two-legged move in there as well. So it's just experience. That's the only way I know how to tell you. If you watch it enough, and then still you could get fooled, but you'll recognize you when you get fooled and you exit real quick, and it doesn't necessarily do as much damage to you. But generally, once you've done this a while and you're really good at it, you don't get fooled that much anymore. So that's the only way I know to put that. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Another good trading day. We're off to a good week this week. What looked like was going to be a lame day turned out to be a great trading day with a nice trend. So hopefully you had a chance to make some money today. If not, come back tomorrow, start over. And if you're not making money consistently, the best advice I can give you is to get on the simulator, because you can't learn this in a few weeks. You can't learn this in a month. You can't read a price action manual and take it all in and then learn to see it on the chart in even a couple of months. It takes time. This is like, the best way I know how to put it is just assume whatever your native language is, assume you're trying to learn a new language. This chart speaks a language, but it's a complicated language. So it's not like trying to learn Spanish to Portuguese. It's more like trying to go from English to Chinese or something, some difficult language, or Chinese to Russian, or English to Russian. It's a very difficult language, and so you can't read a book and learn all the words in one day, and you can't read a price action manual and learn all the nuances of this in one day. You can't do it in a week. You might read it and you might get a good understanding of it, but you're not going to pick it all up. And that's why I tell people to use that price action manual like a study guide, because every time you read it, you will pick up something new. And so use it like a study guide. Study it every day, read a section of it, and just keep going through it over and over and over, and keep applying it. And then one day you'll be sitting here and you'll start to see it real easy at the end of the day after the fact. People will make the comment, anybody can see these trades at the end of the day. Sure, you could see where the prices moved really well and circle it, but do you understand what was going on? Do you see a price action setup? Do you see it following our rules? That's the part you have to understand. But people that don't understand price action don't get that, and so they think you just come along here and you draw some circles where it looks good. But there's a whole lot more to it than that. Where are all the best entries again today? The key entry points. Where are those? Where do I always tell you they are? They're off the trend line, pullbacks to the trend line, pullbacks to the EMA, and off support and resistance. And that's where all of these trades set up for the most part. That's where all your best ones set up. Look at this good move right here. Look at that nice bounce there and there, off the support or off the trend line. Look at this good move right here, off that trend line. Look at the best move of the day, off that trend line. Look where these good moves came from, right here, off that trend line, right off that trend line. It's just a smaller trend line, but that's where all your best entries will come from, pullbacks to your key entry points. And your key entry points are your trend lines up and down, your support and your resistance areas, and the EMA, 21 EMA. That's your key entry point. So when you get a correction and a setup at those places, that's when you want to pay attention. And the main thing I'm going to say before I wrap it up is second entries are what we look for the most part. If you get a two-legged pullback to a key entry point, that's when you get your really good setups. But don't be confused thinking that just because you see a second entry that you take it. And that's kind of one of the traders asked me today, he was wanting to go short here because he saw a second entry short, but it failed because he didn't understand the bigger picture of price action of what was probably going to happen. And he got tricked. And that's what they do. They like to trick you and then take it the other direction. So make sure you understand that. But I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.